It is Tuesday, noon Pacific. And so what time is it? It is time for Delight and Desire. I am Brenda Florida, certified life coach, and I am a seeker of expansion, freedom, and unapologetic, authentic expression. Join me on Tuesdays at noon Pacific, 3 Eastern. We're going to explore delight and desire as a path to unapologetically being authentic. It's easier said than done. Many things in our culture, our families, and our experiences take us away from even knowing who we are authentically, let alone expressing it unapologetically. Oh my gosh, if you are brown, black, indigenous, female, gay, trans, non-binary, if there's anything about you that doesn't fit with privilege, patriarchy, capitalism, youth and beauty as defined by the media, or being cis and straight in your sexual identity expression, you know what I mean when I say we have been conditioned not to be unapologetically authentic. So I'm going to be your guide as we gather each week. My intention is to inspire you and to instigate an inner elevation of how you see and experience yourself. When we elevate ourselves to the truth of our authentic self, there's a natural elevation in how we engage in our relationships personally, professionally, and in the world. So welcome. I'm so happy to see you, Sherry. I'm so glad you've joined. And everybody else who's going to be joining us. This is the first episode, I guess we'll call it, of Delight and Desire. And so my intention is to deliver great content to you every week, to have this conversation, to provide you with tools and a little inspiration so that you will want to share this, invite your friends, watch the replays, all of the above, because this is a place for non-judgmental acceptance and conversation. And here we go. Today is March 21st, so this is the spring equinox and a new moon in Aries. So it was the perfect day to me to kick this program off for you. We are in a growth process, and that process is sacred. So I want you to know that you are a unique expression of the divine, and that you are in the right place at the right time being exactly who you are. So here's how this is going to work. We're going to explore how to use delight and our desires for this path of awakening, of understanding even who we are authentically, right? How can we express ourselves in an unapologetic way if we don't even know who we are? It is so clear to me as I go through my journey and I coach lots and lots of people that we are conditioned, we are taught to see ourselves in a way that is not our authentic self-expression. We are taught through culture, through family, through religious messages, in all kinds of ways, overt and covert, that the way we are is not okay, that there's something wrong with you, that you're not good enough, or you're not smart enough, or you're not something enough. And I am here, my whole work is here to declare that is not true, and to look at through the lens of delight and desire to explore who we really are. Because I was having this conversation with my daughter-in-law, who is a sex therapist and family and marriage therapist. And I was talking about I am cisgender and straight. I was talking about being straight. And I said, in a way, how do I know I'm straight? I was raised in a religion that completely vilified anyone who had a sexual expression other than being cisgender and straight. So I was so, sort of branded into that thinking, and not just that thinking that I should be and express myself as a female because I have a vagina, and I should like boys because I'm a female. And that was so ingrained in me. And not just that, but that the opposite, that if I liked girls, like I can remember let's say I was in first grade, and I remember a neighbor who would come over. I think her name was Carol. And she was like a neighborhood friend that I played with. And we were playing, make believe of some sort. We were out in our garage, which is why I probably even felt safe enough to do this. I would have never done it in the house because I would have been afraid my mom would walk in. But I remember us kissing, like, we on the lips. We were practicing. Who knows whether we were pretending somebody was the mom and somebody was the dad. I don't know. But I remember then thinking, ooh, I like kissing her. But never in a million years would I have let that move into even an internal, as a little, 8 years old, I guess, 7, 8, when you're in first grade. I would have never let that just naturally grow into a curiosity of, do I like boys or do I like girls? Because to like girls would have been so shamed in the religious culture I was in and the family culture I was in. So never even thought about it, except that obviously it still sticks out in my mind as such a pleasant experience. So am I straight? I don't know. It's the only way I've really expressed myself. It's the only thing I've known. It's the only way I've ever seen myself. But it really does make me ask the question internally, is that authentically who I am? Or was that so conditioned in me that I've never considered anything else? Now, maybe thinking about your sexual expression is like too big of a leap for that. So it could be, you can move it into something much smaller, much less loaded, I guess we could say. And Sherry, I'd love your thoughts on this because you're a life coach as well. And I really want these lives to be an exchange. I really want to see your, as best as we can have a conversation in a live on Instagram. That's my real intent and desire for Delight and Desire. See what I did there? Because that's how we can go the deepest. That's how I can address the things that you're questioning or that are interesting to you or that you're curious about. And I want this to really be open in that regard. So please put your questions in the comments or a comment about what I'm talking about. Yeah. Okay. So you were raised the same way. So I've coached many people on things like, even what they want to do as a profession, or just much less groundbreaking likes and dislikes in their life, and so one of them was procrastination. So I had this client, and she was an entrepreneur, and there were many times as we were moving forward into things she really, on the one hand, desired for her business. Then she would get this obstacle that we could call procrastination, or just kind of distraction would be another, is kind of another way to look at procrastination. And as I would try to coach her through that, she would often just sort of stop and be like, well, that's just who I am. That's just who I am. I'm a procrastinator. I get distracted. ADHD, right? Now, absolutely, ADHD is a thing. I'm not disputing that it's a thing. I'm sure I have it. I know that most of my children, if not all of them, have it, and I have tons of clients who have it. So it's a thing. And so we have to find, ways, workarounds and coping mechanisms and things like that really serve us. But to just throw our hands up and be like, well, I'm a procrastinator. I have ADHD, so I can't do that. That's not available to me. I just don't believe that. If you have a desire for it and procrastination or distraction is keeping you from it, then that is a conditioned belief in yourself. Maybe a teacher told you you were, too distracted. Maybe you got teased for daydreaming. Maybe you got shamed for daydreaming. All these things that happened in our families and our school systems that take someone who has the qualities of procrastination and distraction and vilifies them. And I even think procrastination, like I've never thought of myself as a procrastinator, but do I wait till the last minute for a lot of things? Absolutely. I mean, an hour ago, I was making chili instead of getting my makeup on and getting dressed for the live, which then I almost burned because I got distracted getting my makeup on and whatever, because I'm very good under pressure. So I'm very good in that last minute, pressure lead up to some sort of deadline. So we could call that procrastination. I didn't have the story. Oh, hey, Gabriel. How are you? I'm so happy to see you. I will wave at you. I don't call that procrastination because that's not my story. I don't know how I escaped that, but I didn't grow up with that story that I'm a procrastinator. So I just call it good under pressure. It's the exact same thing, And so there are these things that we do or have been told we do that get turned into an obstacle that we may think of as authentic self-expression, or that's just who I am. And it's really who you've been conditioned to believe, and not necessarily who you are, because I don't do that all the time. I don't always have that kind of last minute pressure. Sometimes I plan ahead for things because what I want to do is look at in this situation for this thing, whatever the thing is, a business project, a personal, having people over to entertain, whatever it is, doing a weekly Instagram live. I want to know myself well enough to know, is this a situation where I need to do a lot of planning ahead? Or is this a situation where I'm going to be better off at the last minute? Or is this a combination, right? Like I did a lot of planning for this a few weeks ago. I wasn't going to launch until next week or the week after, until I realized we had this fantastic new moon in Aries and it was so powerful for new beginnings. And so like Sunday, I'm like, let's move up the launch date for Delight and Desire. Let's do it on Tuesday. It's the perfect timing. So, it's good to be open and fluid to things, but I really encourage you to think about something that you may believe is who you are, and maybe just to allow yourself to get curious, maybe that isn't authentically who you are. Maybe that's who you were taught to be, or conditioned to believe, or you got that feedback in your environment enough that you just decided to believe it, so and following delight is such a great way to uncover these things, right? It doesn't feel like so much work. It's not like, I have to go to the darkest depths of my soul to figure out what's wrong with me, to fix the things that aren't working in my life. No. So I don't think there's anything wrong with you. I don't think there's anything broken or anything that needs to be fixed. We've all been incredibly impacted by our culture, by our families, by our environment, by traumas that have happened to us. So holy hell, yes, you have been impacted by many things. And that doesn't mean you're broken. And that doesn't mean you need fixing. And that doesn't mean you're not good enough or something's wrong with you. That's just the lesson we learned, or the story, however you want to think about it. And by looking at what delights us, it's just a really pleasant, even pleasurable way to move towards that authentic self. And when I say that, that's sort of a capital S self, because it really is the true us. And there are so many things that we were taught were true about us that are untrue. true. I have been uncovering, so many of those things in the last few months in my own journey. So Sherry, I want to go back to what you were saying. So it took you until you were 65 and you became a life coach to find out who you really are. Yes. Yes, I love being me, she says. I wish I would have known about life coach training 40 years ago. Life can be amazing. It is so true. My life coach training also was a huge opening for me. I had been deep in the growth, personal growth, spiritual growth, whatever. To me, it's really all the same. Sometimes I articulate personal, professional, spiritual growth, but you are a whole person. You are a unified person. There are not pieces, parts of you any more than my arm is not part of my body. So my arm is a way I move my body, like my profession, my being an entrepreneur, my being a coach, whatever. So that's a thing. And in a way, you could say it's its own thing, but it's all part of the whole. Hey, Justin, so happy you're here. So when I was in life coach training, it really helped open me up to a lot of things. And it really helped me understand how these stories we tell ourselves start creating a reality, whether it's really true or not. Like, hey, Z Chapman, I sort of said that wrong. So glad you're here. Happy to have everyone. And even if you're watching this, as a replay in the recording, please say hello down in the comments. Ask any questions. Drop in your comments. I really want to create week over week, like a dialogue between us, even though this is a little bit like, a platform where I'm sort of talking at you. And DM the fuck out of my inbox with whatever your questions are or something you would like me to address on a Tuesday episode of Delight and Desire, because I want this to grow and grow. I want to address what Sherry shared, being a procrastinator. So yeah, try to turn that around and see if that fits. Now, there are times, procrastination is also real and in many ways doesn't serve many people. Okay. So again, I'm not trying to put lipstick on a pig or whatever that expression is here. But I do wonder if you were to think about it and think, sort of be curious with yourself and question that. Is procrastinating a problem? Of course, just because you said you are doesn't mean you think it's a problem. But if you think it's a problem or a shortcoming of some sort, is that really true? Or like me, are you just really good under pressure? And by pushing yourself up against deadline, you do great work. Like, that's just a different story to tell about that whole concept. And you're so right, Sherry. So many things we think of as obstacles turn out to be our superpowers. And I know you are good at a lot of things, as all of us are. I have had clients who are very multi-passionate entrepreneurs, and they have such a story from media, from Instagram, that, oh no, you can't do that. You need to pick a niche, right? Like get in, or niche, if you like it said that way. Pick one thing, just do that one thing. And it doesn't feel right to them. So that, to bring us back to delight and desire, I truly believe, and I've experienced in my own life, and I certainly experience in my journey with the clients that I work with one-on-one or in the group programs when I offer those, that when we follow what delights us, then we can see everything through a different lens. Because if I'm delighted by the fact that I'm good under pressure, as Sherry says she is, if that's a delight, if that feels good to me, then that's my truth. Like, I don't believe, and I picked this up from my mentor and coach, my life coach training teacher, Dr. Martha Beck. She said one time, truth is never stressful and stress is never the truth. So if we could turn it into the language of our program today, I would say delight is truth. And when it doesn't feel delightful, it is not truth. because we can do many hard things. One of my favorite podcasts, Glennon and Abby, in the We Can Do Hard Things, and sister, in the We Can Do Hard Things podcast, we can do many hard things and it have a feeling state of delight. And that may seem incongruent. You may be like, Brenda, no, ridiculous. So that's okay. You can challenge me on that. But I know, like, I left a relationship. I thought we weren't married, but whatever. We'd lived together a couple years, and I thought this was my forever relationship. And then I realized it was not, and I had to leave. Was that difficult? I was living in his house. I was unemployed. He was supporting me financially, so I didn't have a place to live. I didn't have money. Like, that was a lot of doing hard things to get out of that relationship and to get myself, financially and professionally supporting myself again. But there was a lot of delight in it because the relationship, I had realized, was emotionally abusive for me. And so the delight and the freedom of getting out of that relationship far outweighed the quote unquote hard things that I had to do to get out of it and restart my life. So and the language here is always, there's a lot of semantics and people experience different emotions around different words. So I'm trying to just convey this concept that knowing that our truth feels like delight and freedom inside of us doesn't mean following your truth is always easy. You may have to really stand for something and you may get rejected for it by somebody. You may get shamed, by someone or a group of someone's for it. So that's no fun. But there's a delight, there's a freedom, there's a certain internal sense of peace because we are being true to who we are. And when we are not true to who we are, there's a lot of difficulty in it. There's something about it that just doesn't feel right. There's something about it that brings our energy down, because I believe that's your soul. Like, that's your inner divine that is saying, no. Like, I don't know if you all have played when you were a little kid. This might age me here, but that game, Hotter or Colder. So when you hide something in the room or something, and then a person needs to go look for it, and you let them know if they're getting closer or farther away by, hotter, colder, warmer, all those things. And so I think when we are feeling tension, when we are feeling stress, and I mean the bad stress, not the excited kind of good stress that things can be. I was a little stressed this morning about starting this program and being with you live today, but it was good stress. So I think we all know the difference between the things that are really like constricting and create all that tension in our shoulders and necks usually, that is, like, I'll call it bad stress, that is unhealthy stress. That is not your truth. When you are making yourself do something that you don't want to do, that's not what truth feels like. Truth feels like ease and peace and delight, even when it means you're leaving a relationship with nowhere to live and nowhere to go and no money to support yourself. I'm sure others of you have experienced that kind of thing. Whereas when we try to make ourselves do something out of obligation, or it's the right thing to do, or it's what our family expects or whatever, that never feels good. So Sherry, yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah, we all have a past and we all have challenges. And one of the things that's so important to me, oh, thank you for the love. Oh, Lily and Magnolia Travel. Dean, I'm so happy to have you here. Here, I'm going to wave at you too. We all have a past. We all have our stories. We all have things that didn't serve us, don't serve us, and things that did and do and will. And those things change. What served me and what worked for me 10 or 15 or 20 years ago not all those things still serve me. Some of them do, but not all of them. And so, and just a little plug here. If you need some help with your travel plans, I highly recommend Lily and Magnolia Travel. She is fantastic. And especially if you have, autistic children or people you're traveling with, like she is such a pro and such an expert at all of that. So, thank you for what you do in the world, Dina. So anyway, back to my point. We all have these things that served us at one point. I mean, I really believe everything, even the things that set me up to get into emotionally abusive relationships, those are things that started out with an intention of being benevolent, of protecting me from something that wasn't safe for me in my own environment as a child. Like most everything, comes out of, our childhood, starts there. If you haven't watched Unprisoned yet, if you have Hulu, it's Kerry Washington's new program. Oh my gosh. So much great stuff with little outtakes with her inner child. And it's just, she's a family therapist. Her dad's getting out of prison. It's a great show. So I highly recommend that. But it all started with like this benevolent intention as a coping device for things that you couldn't deal with as a parent or as a child, that was happening to you from your parents or from your religion or from your culture or school or something. And so it gave you like this people-pleasing tendency, or there's something wrong with me. It's not them, it's me. I'm the one, like for those of us who relate to being the black sheep of the family, as I was, it was much safer for me as a child to think there was something wrong with me than something wrong with all these people around me, because how could my world have felt safe to me if I thought they were all quote unquote wrong? And so we take on these coping mechanisms that at one time served us, and then we get old enough or far enough along in our journey that we realize, wait a minute, that doesn't serve me. There was stuff wrong with them, and I just couldn't really take that at the time. That's okay. I don't have to overly demonize them either, but I can call a spade a spade. And I know that the way, for me, that my parents, I'm the daughter of two narcissists, so there's a lot of things that happen when your parents are narcissists, but I can call that a spade, right? That's my calling a spade a spade. They were narcissists, and they loved me in the way that they could, and they did the best they could, and in many ways, it was harmful to me. So that's okay. I'm a big girl. I can take that. I got lots of therapy, lots of coaching, and that was really what started my idea, my inspiration for doing this show every week, is that in truthfulness, I want to be on TV. I want to have a television show or be on other people's television show to talk about and let people kind of experience what it's like working with a life coach, because I want to normalize working with a life coach to just anytime, all the time, to elevate your life, to make your life easier. The same way working with a personal trainer in the gym makes your workout easier. It's not just about people who want to run marathons or something. It's not just about some fitness goal. Well, I'm going to get there and then I'm going to stop. Because a personal trainer helps you every time. When you meet the goal, then there's something else, right? You want to do something else or whatever. And so you want to keep working with them because it makes it easier for you to accomplish that. And that's how I view life coaching and therapy, frankly, whether from when I was the client of all those people to becoming a life coach. Like, I have a lot of people that work with me even for several years because working with me keeps them in that process of elevating their own lives. And that's what it's about. It's about elevating our lives to that authentic self-expression, the youest you can possibly be. So I'm going to wrap today's episode of Delight and Desire. I am so thrilled for those of you who joined me. Like I said, I would love for you to share this with a friend. Tell people about it. Invite them to join you here next week. Invite them to watch the, replay. It's going to always be, there in my profile. And join me every week. I'm going to keep doing this every week for about 30 minutes, starting at noon Pacific, 3 o'clock Eastern. Make your adjustments for everybody in all other places of the world. Thank you, Sherry. Thank you all for those of you who are able to join me live, for everybody who watches the replay. Put your questions or thoughts in the comments, DM me, and let's use delight and desire as our pathway to the journey of unapologetic, authentic expression. Mwah! I love you guys. Have a great day. Happy spring equinox and new moon in Aries. Bye-bye.